Echoes of the spirit. Have you ever experienced that feeling where, despite all your efforts, despite trying so hard to be noticed, the world seems to overlook your inner radiance? Yet one day, you encounter that woman who doesn't need to create noise, who doesn't compete, who doesn't beg for acknowledgement, and still everyone turns their head when she enters a room. It's as though something invisible surrounds her, as if her mere existence speaks louder than any words could. What does she possess that seems impossible to replicate? What energy does she emanate that transforms her simple silence into a magnet? The answer isn't found in perfection or superficial tactics, but in something far deeper, almost mystical. Her connection with her soul, her reconciliation with her shadow, and her ability to embody the feminine archetypes that Jung described as ancestral forces living within every woman. Drawing attention without lifting a finger isn't magic, but it feels as if it were. It's the result of an inner alchemy, a fire born from authenticity. True attraction isn't in what you do to make them look at you, but in who you are when you dare to be yourself without fear. That woman who dazzles doesn't do it because she proclaims her worth. She does it because she embodies it. She doesn't need to beg for glances because her energy is already sufficient to fill a space. She's like a queen entering a hall without uttering a word, but everyone knows she has arrived. Picture Sophia. Sophia wasn't always that magnetic woman everyone admires today. For years, she tried to fit in, compared herself to others, overexerted herself to catch attention on social media, to be accepted by friends, by men, by the world. But nothing was enough. Until one day, after a breakup that tore her soul apart, she realized that all that external searching was only taking her further from herself. That's when she began the most challenging and liberating journey of her life, the journey toward her own sovereignty. She learned to examine her shadow, to embrace her wounds, to recognize within herself the queen and the sorceress, the lover and the warrior, and without realizing it, her energy began to transform. She was no longer the woman seeking attention. She was the woman who attracted it without intending to, because she had stopped fighting against herself. Carl Jung said that the collective unconscious is populated by archetypes, universal patterns that dwell within each of us and guide how we perceive the world. Among those archetypes is the anima, the feminine image that every man unconsciously seeks to complete himself. But here's the key. When you embody your own feminine archetypes, when you reconcile with your inner anima, you don't need to go out seeking approval. You become the mirror that activates others' unconscious. It's as if your mere presence awakens something in their soul that they themselves cannot explain. Drawing attention without lifting a finger doesn't mean manipulating, but remembering that your true power isn't in what you do to please, but in what you are when you please yourself. It's that feminine energy that doesn't compete with the masculine, but complements it, nourishes it, seduces it without effort. It's not about dressing a certain way or learning tricks to catch attention. It's something deeper. It's vibrating from authenticity, from self-love, from internal security that doesn't waver with others' opinions. But to get there requires an act of courage, looking at your shadow. Jung said that what you deny subjugates you, what you accept transforms you. What parts of yourself have you denied for fear of not being loved? What emotions have you suppressed because you believed they weren't correct? The magnetic woman isn't the one who's always smiling and perfect. She's the woman who allows herself to feel everything: sadness, anger, joy, desire. Because when you permit yourself to inhabit all that you are, your energy becomes complete, and completeness is irresistible. No one can look away from someone who lives from the totality of their being. Look at Valeria. For years, Valeria was the good girl, the one who said yes to everything, who strived to be sweet, polite, and accommodating. But deep down, she felt invisible until one day in therapy, she realized she had buried her sorceress, that part of her that was mysterious, creative, passionate, even a bit untamable. When she started giving it voice, when she allowed herself to dance with her inner fire, something changed. Her eyes sparkled in a different way. She no longer asked permission to exist, she simply existed. And people began to notice it. What had changed? Nothing outside, everything inside. This is the first secret to attracting attention without lifting a finger, igniting your inner light, even though at first it may seem invisible to the world. It's not a matter of shouting, "Look at me." It's a matter of walking with the certainty that you're valuable even if no one looks. That certainty isn't arrogance, it's awareness. And awareness is magnetic, because when a woman knows who she is, she radiates an energy that the collective unconscious recognizes as something sacred. It's the queen in you saying, "I am here, and my mere presence is enough." When I speak of queen, I don't mean being cold or distant. I speak of the woman who isn't afraid to be seen as she is, who doesn't need to compare or compete, because she understands that each one has her own crown, unique and non-transferable. The queen doesn't chase after anyone, not because she doesn't love, but because she knows that true love is never begged for. And when you embody that archetype, your silence is more eloquent than 1,000 words. I want you to imagine walking down a busy street. You're not trying to attract attention. You're not looking at your phone or adjusting your posture. You're just present with relaxed shoulders, deep breathing, a gaze that's soft but firm. And suddenly, you notice people looking at you, not because you're wearing the best dress, but because your energy says something their mind cannot ignore. This woman is alive. This woman belongs to herself. That's the true magic. If you feel something within you beginning to ignite, that's your soul recognizing its power. And I want you to declare it. Write in the comments, "Today, I choose my light. Today, I am magnetic without effort." Also tell me from which city you're watching this video, because I want to feel how we unite. Women from different places, all awakening the same energy. Subscribe with gratitude if this truth resonates with you, because what comes next will be an even deeper revelation. We're going to explore the keys so that this energy not only is born, but grows and stays alive. Drawing attention without lifting a finger doesn't mean waiting passively for the world to see you, but understanding that your true strength isn't in doing, but in being. Being is magnetic. Being doesn't need explanations. Being simply radiates something that others feel, even though they can't put it into words. Jung said that the soul has a way of communicating that goes beyond language. A woman aligned with her essence is capable of moving something in the collective unconscious something that cannot be faked. It's as if her mere presence touches a secret chord in those around her. The first key you must understand is internal silence. Not the silence that quiets from fear, but the one born from confidence. When you stop seeking external validation, your energy changes frequency. The woman who doesn't need to prove anything becomes mysterious, and the mysterious always attracts. Think of Clara, a woman who for years believed she had to explain everything, justify each of her decisions to please, but one day decided to simply be. She walked through life with the calm of someone who no longer has to give explanations, and that made people start listening to her more. Because power lies in those who don't waste themselves trying to be understood, but in those who understand themselves. The second key has to do with the queen archetype. This archetype isn't defined by crowns or power over others, but by dominion over herself. The queen doesn't beg for love, doesn't chase after attention, doesn't ask for space. She is the space. Everything accommodates around her because her energy orders, her presence creates a center. When you place yourself at the center of your own life, without guilt, without doubts, people begin to revolve around you without you trying. This isn't vanity, it's alignment. It's knowing that your value doesn't depend on anyone's approval, but on your capacity to inhabit yourself. And Jung said that a person who integrates their shadow shines with a light that isn't artificial. Do you know why? Because most people live hiding their dark parts, their fears, their wounds. But when you dare to look at them face to face and love them, there's nothing left they can use against you. That's the third key, embracing your shadow. A woman who allows herself to say, "Yes, I am light, but I'm also fire, I'm calm, and I'm storm," is a woman who vibrates complete, and the complete attracts, because it doesn't seek to fill itself from outside. Think about it. What calls your attention more? A person who pretends to be okay all the time, or one who allows herself to be real with all her facets? The authentic is always magnetic. I want you to think about Anna. Anna always tried to be perfect. The smile, the posture, the way of speaking, everything about her was an attempt to be accepted, but perfection was her prison. One day, tired of not feeling seen for who she really was, she decided to show herself vulnerable. She told her story, her wounds, her failures. To her surprise, in that moment, people truly looked at her, not because she was striving to be perfect, but because her truth touched something in others' hearts. The most genuine attention isn't born from the impeccable, but from the authentic. The fourth key is inhabiting your body, not from aesthetic obsession, but from connection with your vital energy. A woman who inhabits her body, who feels each step, each gesture, radiates a security that cannot be copied. It's the security of someone who doesn't live disconnected from their own skin. When you walk with an open chest, with conscious breathing, with a gaze that's soft but firm, your entire body language shouts, "I am here and I belong to myself." And that presence is more attractive than any word. You don't need to move too much because each movement is intentional. Each gesture is charged with meaning. But to achieve this, you must reconcile with your sensuality, which is the fifth key. And I'm not talking about the superficial sensuality they sell you in magazines, but about that sensuality born from loving what you are. It's the woman who combs her hair slowly, not to be seen, but because she enjoys the ritual of caring for herself. It's the woman who dresses with love, not to impress, but because she honors her body. Sensuality isn't a disguise. It's an energy that springs forth when you inhabit yourself with sweetness and strength at the same time. When you embody this energy, you don't need to chase after attention because your simple way of existing is already magnetic. Carl Jung spoke of the opposites that dwell in human beings, and one of the most powerful forces you can integrate as a woman is the balance between your light and your darkness, between your sweetness and your strength. The women who attract the most attention aren't those who only show one face, but those who can be tender and wild, soft and forceful all at the same time. This awakens the masculine unconscious because it reminds them of the anima image, that feminine figure that guides them toward their own soul. I want you to do an exercise now. Close your eyes and visualize a version of yourself that doesn't need to prove anything. She's there in a sacred space with her back straight, shoulders relaxed, and a smile that doesn't ask for approval. That woman doesn't compete, doesn't shout, doesn't pursue, and yet everyone notices her because her energy is her letter of introduction. Do you know what difference there is between you and that version of yourself? Only one: the decision to inhabit yourself fully, the decision to stop asking permission to exist. When you make that decision, you become a magnet. If these words are resonating with you, I want you to declare it in the comments. Today, I choose myself without effort. Today, my energy is sufficient. And also, tell me from which city you're listening to me, because I want to see how these threads of feminine energy weave through every corner of the world. If you haven't already, subscribe with gratitude, because what's coming will be even deeper. We'll reveal how each of these keys not only attracts attention, but transforms your relationship with yourself and with the world. There's an energy that cannot be forced, that isn't born from perfection or desperate effort, but from a vibration that's recognized without words. That energy is of the woman who has awakened to her true essence, to her sacred nature. She doesn't have to do anything to be seen because her light is so genuine that it penetrates any mask. Drawing attention without lifting a finger is actually the result of integrating all your parts, of radical acceptance of who you are, and of the decision to inhabit yourself with truth. The sixth key to achieving this is awakening the sorceress who lives within you. This feminine archetype is the magnetic force of mystery, the woman who doesn't reveal everything about herself, who keeps secrets, who isn't afraid of silence. The sorceress doesn't pursue attention because she knows her presence is already sufficient to ignite curiosity. She's that woman who doesn't need to tell everything immediately, who leaves space for enigma, for the other's mind to travel and wonder, who is she? What makes her so different? Think of Estella, a woman who used to tell her whole life in first conversations as if she feared not being enough. One day, she decided to simply listen more and speak less. Not from fear, but because she understood there's power in mystery. She discovered that people started seeking her more because they felt there was something in her they couldn't decipher. The sorceress isn't manipulative, but wise. She knows when to speak and when to be silent, when to appear, and when to let silence speak for her. And in an era where everyone wants to shout to be heard, silence becomes the most potent sound. That's your strength, the capacity to not beg for attention, to understand that your presence is a universe in itself. The seventh key is inhabiting the lover archetype. And here I don't refer only to the sensual or romantic, but to the woman who loves life, who loves her existence, who loves her skin, her steps, her laughter. The lover isn't desperate to be loved because she loves herself first. When a woman becomes her own lover, each gesture becomes magnetic. A man may not understand it consciously, but he'll feel a different vibration, that of someone who doesn't seek another to complete her, because she's already complete. Jung said that true attraction arises when two beings don't seek each other from necessity, but from expansion. And that expansion is born when you fall in love with yourself. Think of Laura. Laura always felt she had to be approved by a man to feel valuable. But when she started reconnecting with her body, touching her skin with gratitude, dancing alone in front of the mirror without waiting for anyone to validate her, something changed. It wasn't her movements that attracted, but the energy of self-love she radiated. That's what the lover awakens, a magnetism impossible to copy, because it's born from internal joy. The eighth key is detachment from the need for attention. This is perhaps the most powerful secret. The more you obsess about being seen, the more you disconnect from your center. Detachment doesn't mean you don't want connection, but that you don't beg for it. It's understanding that the attention you receive doesn't define your value. When a woman stops trying to impress, stops seeking constant approval, something magical happens. She begins to draw gazes without seeking them, because the energy of I don't need is the energy of abundance, and abundance is always attractive. Detachment is an act of sovereignty. It's the queen in you saying, I am complete. If you see me, good. If not, also good. And that freedom from not depending on external recognition is one of the highest forms of magnetism, because there's nothing more attractive than a woman who doesn't fear losing, who doesn't need to beg, who doesn't bend to be accepted. The ninth key, which is like the crown of all the others, is radical authenticity. There's nothing more magnetic than a woman who dares to be herself in a world that insists on making us uniform. Authenticity isn't about pleasing everyone, but about pleasing yourself, about being so honest with what you are that people have no choice but to see you. Not everyone will love you, but everyone will remember you. And paradoxically, when you stop trying to please everyone, you start attracting the right people, those who resonate with your true energy. Remember Julia? Julia lived trying to fit in. She changed her way of dressing depending on who she went out with. She imitated opinions to avoid criticism. She smiled even when something didn't please her. But one day, exhausted from pretending, she decided to show herself as she was. She started dressing in the color she loved, saying what she thought with respect, but without fear, laughing loudly even if it bothered some. And the incredible thing was that far from losing attention, she began attracting people who saw and loved her as she was. Because authenticity is like a lighthouse. It doesn't illuminate for everyone, but it shines brightly for those ready to see it. This is the secret of everything we've talked about. It's not about doing more, but about being more you. And in that being you, there's an ancestral power that connects with the archetypes Jung studied, with that feminine energy that doesn't ask permission to exist. When you embody the queen, the sorceress, the lover, you don't need to shout to be seen, because your vibration is felt in the air, in gestures, in silence. I want you to close your eyes and think, what part of you are you ready to ignite today? What feminine archetype needs to awaken in your life? Perhaps it's the queen who reminds you that you don't have to chase after anything. Perhaps it's the sorceress who invites you to embrace mystery. Or perhaps it's the lover who teaches you to celebrate your skin and your soul. It doesn't matter which one you choose. What's important is that you start inhabiting yourself with truth. If these words are awakening something in you, let me know in the comments. Write from which city you're listening to me and share a powerful affirmation that seals your energy today. It can be as simple as, I am enough. My energy attracts without effort. And if this journey is resonating in your heart, subscribe with gratitude, because what's coming in the following parts will be a true awakening. We'll explore how to keep this energy alive, how to ignite it in your daily life, and how to become a woman who not only attracts attention, but respect, love, and admiration. Drawing attention without lifting a finger is much more than a seduction strategy. It's a state of the soul. It's the result of a woman who has made peace with her story, who has stopped being a slave to others' expectations, and who has found a way to inhabit herself with calm, with fire, and with dignity. Such a woman doesn't need to make noise to be seen, because her vibration is her letter of introduction. That vibration isn't born from luck or genetics. It's born from an internal alchemy, the union of light and shadow, of archetypes and authenticity, of self-love with the purest truth. Carl Jung affirmed that what most attracts in a person isn't their mask, but their authenticity, and yet most people live behind masks, believing that if they show their true face, they'll be rejected. But what actually happens is the opposite. When you dare to remove the mask and be yourself, even if that means not pleasing everyone, you become a magnet for those who are ready to see the truth. The woman who embodies this energy doesn't seek attention. She creates it with her mere existence. Imagine Isabella. Isabella was always the woman who tried to please everyone at work, in her family, with the men she liked. She dressed as she believed she should, spoke as she thought was correct, silenced her opinions to avoid discomfort, but inside she felt empty, invisible, as if no matter what she did, nobody looked at her truly. One day, after a conversation with a friend, something clicked in her mind. What would happen if I showed myself as I am, without fear, without disguise? She started experimenting. One day, she dressed in the colors she truly loved, even though they told her they were too daring. Another day, she said aloud what she really thought, without softening her words from fear. And little by little, she discovered something incredible. People began to listen to her, to see her, to seek her, because genuine attention arrives when we stop pretending. Attention isn't a trophy someone gives you. It's a natural consequence of the energy you emit. If your energy is insecurity, You'll attract superficial or condescending glances. If your energy is security, you'll attract respect and admiration. And that security isn't bought with clothes or words. It's born from the integration of your shadow. Jung said, you don't become enlightened by imagining beings of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That is, when you embrace your defects, your mistakes, your hidden parts, you become free. And that freedom is magnetic. Think of the last time you saw someone truly free. What did you feel? It wasn't necessarily the most attractive person according to beauty standards, but there was something in their way of being, in their presence, that made you look at them. That's what happens with a woman who has freed herself from the chains of approval. She doesn't have to lift a finger for the world to notice her, because the world is hungry for authenticity, for truth. One of the keys rarely said aloud is that true attraction is born from inner calm. When you're desperate to please, your energy screams, I need you to see me, and that repels. But when you're at peace with yourself, your energy says, I am already enough, and that attracts without effort. The queen within you doesn't chase after anyone, not because she doesn't love, but because she knows that love and attention cannot be forced. She understands that her value isn't in how many look at her, but in how deeply she looks at herself. The journey toward this energy is a path of self-acceptance. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a process. It's looking at yourself in the mirror and instead of criticizing every detail, starting to be grateful for what you see. It's stopping seeking outside what you can only find inside, your own validation. When you achieve it, your energy changes. People begin to notice you not because you do something different, but because your vibration is different. It's as if your mere presence said, I belong to myself. And that's irresistible. I want you to think about the feminine archetypes Jung described: the queen, the sorceress, the lover, the mother. All live within you, though perhaps you've forgotten them. Each has a different strength, a unique energy that attracts attention in different ways. The queen attracts through her power and dignity. The sorceress through her mystery and magic. The lover through her capacity to enjoy and love life. The mother through her warmth and compassion. When you manage to integrate these archetypes, you become a complete woman, and the complete always attracts. It's not something that can be forced. It's a natural consequence of living in your truth. I want to tell you Camilla's story. Camilla was a brilliant woman, but always felt she had to prove it, as if her value depended on others recognizing her. One day, in a therapy session inspired by Jung's psychology, she realized she was living disconnected from her queen archetype. She had buried her power from fear of making others uncomfortable. When she started reclaiming her space, saying no without guilt, setting boundaries, her life changed. Not only did people begin respecting her more, but her energy attracted opportunities she hadn't even seen before. Because a woman who chooses herself without excuses is a woman who radiates something the world cannot ignore. The most valuable attention isn't what you beg for, but what you inspire. And to inspire you must dare to be seen in your truth. That implies showing not only your light, but also your shadow. Sometimes we believe that to attract, we must always be perfect, always happy, always positive. But what really makes us magnetic is our humanity. When someone sees that you're capable of feeling everything, of accepting your vulnerability and your strength, they feel touched in their soul. Because we all long for that freedom to be, but few allow it for themselves. The magnetic woman isn't the loudest or the most perfect. She's the most conscious. She's the one who knows who she is, what she deserves, and what she's not willing to accept. She's the one who, even in silence, transmits a security that awakens curiosity. That security is built with small acts. Saying what you think without fear, dressing for yourself and not to please, making decisions aligned with your heart. It's not about acting to attract, but about being so real that attraction happens as a natural consequence. I want you to think about your life right now. How many times have you tried to make them look at you, recognize you, choose you? And how many times have you chosen yourself first? The first step to attracting attention without lifting a finger is precisely that. Learning to choose yourself, even if that means some will distance themselves. When you choose yourself, when you honor yourself, your energy speaks louder than any word. If this message is touching something within you, I want you to declare it in the comments. Write, "Today, I look at myself with love. Today, my energy is sufficient to be seen." And tell me from which city you're listening to me, because I love feeling how this message expands throughout the world, connecting women who are awakening their true essence. Subscribe with gratitude if you feel this is your moment of transformation, because in the next part, we're going to deepen how to ignite this energy in your daily life, how to make your presence something unforgettable. Drawing attention without lifting a finger isn't a superficial skill or an empty trick. It's a transformation that begins in the invisible, in what cannot be seen or touched, but is felt in the deepest part. It's the result of a woman who has stopped seeking outside what she can only find within herself. A woman who has stopped living as a shadow of what the world expects and has started being a beacon of what she truly is. Because the most powerful attention isn't that which is forced with words or strategies, but that which is given like an inevitable sigh, like a subtle spell that extends from the energy of a woman conscious of her value. This journey isn't about seducing the world from lack, but about allowing the world to see you as you are when you're in your maximum authenticity. Carl Jung said that the most powerful energy of a human being is the integration of their unconscious, the union of their light and their shadow. When a woman embraces what she is, the beautiful, the imperfect, the chaotic, the sublime, she becomes something no one can replace. That woman isn't trying to fit in. She's so complete that others feel, even without understanding why, that there's something in her that attracts them. Think of Elena, a woman who seemed invisible. Everything in her life was a search for approval at work, with her friends, with the men she liked. She always smiled even when she didn't want to, always said yes, even when her soul screamed no. One day, while walking alone in the park, she asked herself, what would happen if I stopped doing all this for others and started doing it for me? That question was the beginning of her awakening. She started with small changes. She stopped apologizing for things that weren't her fault. She began dressing in colors that made her feel alive, walking with her back straight, even though inside she still trembled, and something magical happened. Without doing anything extraordinary, without lifting a finger, she began attracting gazes, respect, interest, not because she had changed physically, but because her energy spoke for her. And energy doesn't lie. That's what happens when a woman chooses herself. The world, like a mirror, cannot do anything but recognize her. But this isn't something built overnight. It's a deep, spiritual, psychological journey. It's a journey toward the heart of the queen archetype, toward the conscious sensuality of the lover, toward the hypnotic mystery of the sorceress, and toward the firm compassion of the mother. It's when all these internal archetypes awaken and begin dancing in harmony that magnetism becomes inevitable. Carl Jung spoke of the power of individuation, that process in which you stop being a copy of what the world expects and become an authentic, complete human being, conscious of your own essence. The women who manage to attract without effort aren't those who try to meet every standard, but those who live in this state of individuation. They're women who don't ask permission to be, who don't need to fill voids with external gazes, because their own presence fills the space. And when a woman fills space with her authenticity, attention arrives as a natural consequence. True feminine magnetism doesn't have to do with appearance, though we often confuse it. No matter how perfect you believe you must look, if your energy is fragmented, the world perceives it. A woman living, disconnected from her shadow and light, who strives to appear a perfection she doesn't feel, projects an energy of struggle, of lack. But when a woman stops, breathes, and decides to embrace her chaos and her light, something in her vibration changes. Her presence no longer competes, no longer pleads. It simply is. And being in such a conscious way is one of the most seductive acts that exist. I want you to imagine a day when you wake up with a different certainty. Today, you don't need to impress anyone. Today, you don't need to shout to be seen. Today, you simply exist, and that's enough. You walk down the street and notice how something in you has changed. It's not your makeup, it's not your clothes, it's not your hairstyle, it's the way you occupy your body, the way your steps are firm and soft at the same time, the way your eyes don't seek approval, but look at the world as if you already belong to it. That sensation, that magnetism, isn't bought or learned with tricks. It's the result of loving yourself to the point where your mere presence becomes a language. The attention you receive when living in this state isn't noisy or invasive. It's not the type of attention that exhausts you or makes you feel you must continue meeting expectations. It's a quiet, almost reverential attention. It's as if the people around you, without understanding why, want to approach, listen, feel more of your energy. And it's not because you try to please them, but because your authenticity awakens something in them, a memory of what they could also be if they dared to show themselves without masks. And at this point in the journey, the question is no longer, how do I attract attention, but how can I honor my energy so it shines without effort? Because true attention isn't begged for, it's inspired, it's not sought, it's attracted. And this only happens when you stop living to be validated and start living for yourself. Shadow integration is a crucial part of this process. Jung said the shadow isn't something negative, but those parts of you that you've repressed because you believed they weren't acceptable. When you integrate your shadow, when you dare to look at your wounds, your angers, your hidden desires, and embrace them as part of your story, you stop fighting against yourself. And a woman at peace with her shadow is invincible because she's not afraid to be seen in her totality. Think of how many times you've tried to hide your emotions to not seem weak, or how many times you've silenced yourself for fear of being judged. That gradually extinguishes your magnetism. But when you dare to say, "This is me with everything I am," when you stop fleeing from your emotions and start using them as a source of power, something changes in your energy. There's nothing left to prove because there's nothing left to hide. This final part is an invitation to remember that your true power of attraction is in your truth. Not in being the prettiest in the room, but the most authentic. Not in saying what others want to hear, but in speaking with the soul. Not in competing, but in living with a security so soft and so firm that others feel it. I want you to make a powerful affirmation now. Close your eyes and repeat softly or in your mind. I don't need to lift a finger to be seen. My presence is sufficient. My energy is magnetic because it's real. Feel how this phrase settles in your body, how something in you relaxes when you understand you don't have to do anything extraordinary, just be yourself. If this reflection touched you, let me know in the comments. Write from which city you're listening to me and share your affirmation to seal this transformation. I'll love reading "Today I Choose Myself." Today, my energy speaks for me. And if you haven't already, subscribe with gratitude, because this channel is a space for more women every day to awaken their feminine power, their essence, and their natural magnetism. This isn't just the conclusion of a video. It's the closing of a stage. It's the moment when you decide to release the version of you that desperately sought to be seen and embrace the version of you that already shines. Remember this: it's not noise that calls attention, it's calm. It's not the disguise, it's the truth. And your truth, when you dare to show it, is impossible to ignore. I leave you with this final image. Imagine a woman standing in the middle of a room full of people. She doesn't speak, doesn't do anything to stand out, but everyone notices her. They don't know exactly why, but something in her energy attracts them. That woman can be you. In fact, she already is. You just need to remember it.